Dear students, in this class you will see about antiviral drugs, especially non-retroviral drugs. We shall see some of the common features of antiviral drugs. We know that viruses are obligate intracellular parasites and their replication depends on the synthetic process of the host cell. And they contain single type of nucleic acid. So since they depend on the host cell for the replication, most of the antiviral drugs are non-selective and they interfere with the host cell function as well. And they are virostatic. Most of them are virostatic. And non-retroviral drugs can be classified into anti-herpes virus drugs and anti-influenza drugs, anti-hepatitis drugs, which includes drugs for hepatitis B and C. Let's see about anti-herpes virus drugs. This is the life cycle of herpes virus. So it starts with the attachment of the virus to the host cell surface, followed by entry of the virus through the host cell membrane, then uncoating of the viral nucleic acid, and followed by transcription and synthesis of the proteins, viral proteins, which includes structural proteins, viral enzymes, and regulatory proteins. And this is followed by assembly of these proteins into mature virus particle, followed by release through budding. So here we have various drugs which interferes with the viral DNA replication, which acts as an anti-herpes virus drugs. So these are the different types of herpes virus. You have HSV1, 2, varicella zoster virus, Epstein-Barr virus, and cytomegalovirus. And these are the various clinical manifestations of herpes viral disease. You have herpes labialis, keratoconjunctivitis, encephalitis. This is the mechanism of anti-herpes drugs. So most of the drugs are nucleoside analogs. Okay, so these drugs are activated or phosphorylated into triphosphate form. So this triphosphate is the active form of the drug. So here the drugs like acyclovir, penciclovir, and ganciclovir. So these are phosphorylated by virus-specific thymidine kinase enzyme into monophosphate form, followed by diphosphate and triphosphate form. So these phosphorylation are carried out through host kinases. So this triphosphate form, which is the active form of the drug, it gets incorporated into the viral DNA and cause chain termination. Acyclovir is a guanosine derivative. It is active against HSV1, 2, and varicella zoster virus infections. It requires the viral kinase for initial phosphorylation, as we saw earlier, and it is selectively activated. That means it acts only on the cells which are affected by the virus, and it is available in oral, IV, and topical formulations. And you have val acyclovir, which is a valine ester of acyclovir. Acyclovir is used in genital herpes, recurrent herpes labialis, HSV encephalitis, varicella zoster infections, and it is used in patients prophylactically for those who undergo organ transplantation and in dual infection with HSV2 and HIV1 infection. Adverse effects, generally acyclovir is well tolerated. Mild adverse events like nausea, diarrhea, and headache can occur. It causes reversible renal toxicity, neurological effects, and since it is a nephrotoxic, concurrent use of other nephrotoxic agents can enhance this adverse effect. And probenecid and cimetidine, it decrease the acyclovir clearance when it is used concomitantly. Then you have famciclovir. It is a prodrug of 6-deoxypenciclovir and it is a guanosine analog. It inhibits the viral DNA polymerase and blocks the DNA synthesis. And penciclovir, it is an active metabolite of famciclovir. It is used topically for herpes labialis. And you have other topical anti-herpes drugs like docosanol, trifluridine, and idoxuridine. Then we will see about drugs for cytomegalovirus. So we all know that cytomegalovirus is seen in patients who are in advanced state of immunosuppression, especially post organ transplantation or HIV infection. The dissemination of this infection can manifest as retinitis, colitis, esophagitis, central nervous system diseases, and pneumonitis. Ganciclovir, it is a guanosine analog. The triphosphate form of ganciclovir inhibits the viral DNA polymerase enzyme and hence viral replication. It is administered intravenously. Dual therapy with foscarnet and ganciclovir is usually used in the management of cytomegalovirus infections. And intravitreal injections of ganciclovir is used. And valganciclovir is a valyl ester prodrug of ganciclovir. Adverse effects includes reversible myelosuppression, mild effects like nausea, diarrhea, fever, rash, headache, insomnia, and peripheral neuropathy can occur. And CNS toxicity includes confusion, seizures, and psychiatric disturbances. Hepatotoxicity can occur. Intravitreal ganciclovir can cause vitreous hemorrhage and retinal detachment. The next drug used for cytomegalovirus infection is foscarnet. It inhibits the DNA polymerase, RNA polymerase, and HIV reverse transcriptase directly without requiring activation by phosphorylation. So no phosphorylation is needed for foscarnet to get activated, and it is available in intravenous formulation only. It is used in the management of end organ cytomegalovirus disease. So even in those cases of ganciclovir resistant infections, and it is also used in the management of acyclovir resistant HSV and varicella zoster infections also. Adverse effects include nephrotoxicity, electrolyte disturbances, genital ulcerations can occur because of high levels of ionized drugs in the urine. And nausea, vomiting, anemia, elevation of liver enzymes can occur. CNS toxicity includes headache, hallucinations, and seizures. Cidofovir is a cytosine nucleotide analog. It shows in vitro activity against a wide range of viruses, and the phosphorylation is independent of viral enzymes. Intravenous cidofovir is administered along with high dose probenecid because the main dose dependent toxicity of cidofovir is proximal tubular nephrotoxicity, and when it is co-administered with high dose probenecid, this blocks the active tubular secretion of the drug and hence decreases the nephrotoxicity. The other adverse effects are uveitis, ocular hypotony, and neutropenia. And that's all about anti-herpes virus drugs. We'll move on to anti-hepatitis virus drugs. So hepatitis B virus, it is a DNA virus and it integrates into host chromosomal DNA, whereas hepatitis C virus is an RNA virus and it does not integrate into host chromosomal DNA. We will see about interferon A, which is a broad spectrum antiviral drug. So this interferon is basically a low molecular weight glycoprotein cytokines which are produced by the host cells normally in response to viral infections. So it affects the viral replication at multiple steps and they are host specific. Interferon alpha 2A and 2B, they are the most commonly clinically used interferons. They are given as intramuscular or subcutaneous injection, and they are also combined with polyethylene glycol, and it is available as a pegylated forms with a prolonged duration of action. So this pegylated interferons can be given as subcutaneous injection at weekly intervals. The uses of interferon A, they are used in the treatment of chronic hepatitis B, chronic hepatitis C, AIDS-related Kaposi sarcoma, condyloma acuminata, herpes simplex, zoster and cytomegalovirus infection. Apart from viral infections, they are also used in the management of chronic myeloid leukemia, follicular lymphoma, cutaneous T-cell lymphoma and multiple myeloma. Adverse effects include flu-like symptoms, neurotoxicity, myelosuppression, thyroid dysfunction, hypotension, transient arrhythmias, alopecia, and reversible liver dysfunction. They are contraindicated during pregnancy, in decompensated cirrhosis, and in autoimmune disease patients. We will now see specific hepatitis B virus therapy. And the goal of the hepatitis B virus therapy is to suppress the hepatitis B virus DNA to undetectable levels. So we all know the virus is integrated into the host DNA and it cannot be completely eradicated. So the endpoints will be seroconversion and reduction in elevated hepatic transaminase levels. So this should be clinically correlated with improvement in the necroinflammatory disease, decreased risk of hepatocellular carcinoma and cirrhosis, and decreased need for liver transplantation. So these will be the goal and endpoints of chronic hepatitis B virus therapy. This is the virus life cycle. This starts with the receptor binding of the hepatitis B virus, followed by uncoating of the nuclear uncoating and nuclear transport of the relaxed circular DNA. So this is the relaxed circular DNA. So this is again converted into triple C DNA, which is covalently closed circular DNA. So the formation of this triple C DNA is responsible for the chronicity of the infection. And again, this is followed by formation of the RNA intermediates, which are again, reverse transcribed into DNA, and then they are assembled. And the mature virus particles are released. So this is the outline of hepatitis B virus life cycle. Now we will see specific anti-hepatitis B virus drugs. So most of these drugs are also used in the treatment of HIV infections. So you will be learning in detail about the drugs in when you read about retroviral drugs. Okay, so we'll just have a brief outline. You have lamivudine, which is used in the management of both hepatitis B and C virus. So you will read in detail about the drug in retroviral drugs chapter. Okay, and then you have entecavir. It is a guanosine nucleoside analog. It inhibits hepatitis B virus DNA polymerase enzyme, and it is nearly completely absorbed. It is not metabolized, and it is excreted unchanged by the kidney. The side effects includes dyspepsia, nausea, diarrhea, fatigue, and disturbed sleep. Lactic acidosis can occur with entecavir. The next drug is adifovir dipivoxil. It is an analog of AMP, adenosine monophosphate. It is phosphorylated and gets incorporated in the viral DNA, resulting in the termination of the DNA. So it causes chain termination. The side effects include sore throat, headache, weakness, abdominal pain, and flu-like syndrome. Nephrotoxicity also can occur. Then you have tenofovir disoproxil fumarate (TDF). It is a monophosphate nucleotide which is related to AMP. It inhibits hepatitis B virus DNA polymerase and also HIV reverse transcriptase. So as I said, most of the anti-hepatitis B virus drugs are also used as an anti-HIV drug. Telbivudine, it is a thymidine nucleoside analog. It inhibits HBV DNA polymerase and gets incorporated into HBV DNA, resulting in chain termination. So now we'll move on to hepatitis C viral therapy. So the goal of hepatitis C virus therapy is total virus eradication, because it is not integrated into host chromosomal DNA. So it can be completely eradicated. So the end point will be the achievement of sustained viral response, that is absence of detectable viremia 24 weeks after completion of therapy. So this will be the end point of the therapy, and the clinical correlation will be with improvement in liver histology, reduction in the risk of hepatocellular carcinoma, and regression of cirrhosis. This is the hepatitis C virus life cycle. So here it starts with the receptor binding, followed by endocytosis, fusion, and coating. And it is an RNA virus. So this RNA will be released and it is directly translated into this polyprotein. Okay, so all of this proteins will be synthesized, core protein, envelope protein, non-structural proteins, and this polyprotein will be cleaved by the protease enzyme, and then it will be converted into functional proteins, followed by assembly and formation of mature virus particles, and then release. So this is the brief outline of a life cycle of hepatitis C virus. So you have directly acting anti-hepatitis C virus drugs. So these drugs, they target the specific non-structural viral proteins. So these non-structural proteins, they play essential role in the replication of hepatitis C virus. So these drugs, which are used in combination either among themselves or with drugs like ribavirin and pegylated interferon alpha. So they are used mostly in combination. So you have three different groups. You have NS5B. NS means non-structural protein. NS5B polymerase inhibitor. Examples sofosbuvir. And NS3, which is a protease enzyme. So NS protease inhibitor. You have boceprevir, simiprevir, and tilaprevir. And NS5A inhibitor, daclatasvir, ledipasvir, and velpatasvir. So first, it is an RNA polymerase inhibitor, that is NS5B. It is an RNA polymerase enzyme. It is an uridine analog prodrug, and it is a substrate for efflux transporter P glycoprotein. So many of the anti-HCV drugs are substrates for efflux transporter. So this is of importance because of the drug interactions it can cause when you co-administer drugs which are substrates for this P glycoprotein transporters. And the main adverse effects are abdominal pain, fatigue, agitation, joint pain, and anemia. Severe bradycardia and arrest can occur in patients taking amiodarone. HCV protease, that is NS3. NS3 is the protease enzyme. So protease inhibitors are boceprevir, simiprevir, and tilaprevir. So these drugs block the cleavage of HCV polyprotein complex, so that it interferes with the formation of functional viral RNA. It is also a substrate and inhibitor of CYP3A4 and efflux transporter P glycoprotein. It is usually used in combination with ribavirin. The adverse effects include nausea, headache, dyspnea, fatigue, rashes, and photosensitivity. Then NS5A inhibitors. These drugs block the HCV RNA replication and also the assembly of the progeny virions. And these are metabolized by CYP3A, and it is a substrate for efflux transporter P glycoprotein. And ledipasvir and velpatasvir. So these are used in fixed dose combination with sofosbuvir. We will now move on to anti-influenza drugs. So you have influenza A and influenza B, H5N1, which is bird flu, and H1N1 swine flu. This is the structure of influenza virus. So you have these spikes, there is heme agglutinin protein. Then you have non-structural proteins, and M2 protein, which is the ion channel, which is important for the transfer of the viral genome into the host cell nucleus. And you have neuraminidase enzyme, which is responsible for the release of the mature virions from the host cell. This is the life cycle of the influenza virus. It binds to the cell surface via the heme agglutinin spikes, followed by endocytosis, and then the release of the genomic particles through the ion channel M2 protein, because of change in the pH of the viral cell, and then followed by the release of the viral RNA, and followed by protein synthesis. Both structural and non-structural proteins are synthesized, and then they are assembled into mature virus particles, and this is released through budding, and the release is aided by neuraminidase enzyme. The most commonly used anti-influenza viral drug is oseltamivir. and this is active against both influenza A and B. It is an ester prodrug. The mechanism of action of this drug is inhibition of neuraminidase enzyme, and hence prevents the release of the progeny virions from the infected cell. The side effects include nausea, gastric irritation, headache, weakness, sadness, diarrhea, cough, and insomnia. Skin reactions have been reported, and dose reduction has to be done in case of renal insufficiency. Zanamivir, it is a neuraminidase inhibitor again, and it is administered by inhalation as a powder, and this is contraindicated in bronchial asthma because of the bronchospasm it causes. And the adverse drug reactions include headache, dizziness, nausea, and rashes. Paramivir, it is a new single dose IV drug which is used in the treatment of influenza in adults. Then you have amantadine, an older drug which inhibits the influenza A virus. The mechanism of action is inhibition of viral M2 protein, the ion channel, which is responsible for uncoating and release of the viral genome into the infected cell nucleus. And rimantadine, again, it is a methyl derivative of amantadine. So both these drugs are seldom used now. Other antiviral drugs, you have ribavirin. It has broad spectrum antiviral activity. It inhibits the viral RNA synthesis. It is used in combination therapy with PEG interferon or sofosbuvir. Nebulized ribavirin, it is used in respiratory syncytial virus bronchiolitis in infants and children. The adverse drug reactions of dose-dependent hemolytic anemia, bone marrow depression, CNS and gastrointestinal symptoms, and this is teratogenic. Then you have palivizumab. It is a humanized monoclonal antibody which is directed against an epitope in the antigen site on the surface protein of respiratory syncytial virus. And you have imiquimod. It is an immune response modifier. This is effective in the topical treatment of external genital and perianal warts. That's all about non-retroviral antiviral drugs. To summarize, most of the antiviral drugs are non-specific, they are virostatic, and they has to be phosphorylated to active form in order to exert its action, and they block different steps in the life cycle of the virus, from viral entry, uncoating, nucleic acid synthesis, integration with host DNA, and release. And they are non-selective drugs and they are highly toxic drugs. And you have to remember, in majority of the acute viral infections, so the replication will be already at its peak when the symptoms appear. So the antiviral therapy has to be started in the incubation period itself. Thank you.